Okay, a rare, absolutely beautiful day here in Seebeck because we've had nothing but rain. But we are, oh gosh, let's see. We're about 10 minutes still to the house. No, I'm sorry, about 7 minutes to the house. So the drive out here is absolutely stunning. And by the way, you're maybe 15 minutes total from Seebeck to Silverdale. So it seems far, it feels remote, almost like a retreat, a Northwest retreat, but in all reality, it is not as far as it feels. Okay, we're just coming into this little, I'm not going to call it a town, but this is Seebeck, where there's the closest conveniences. Again, we're probably now, gosh, 5 minutes to the house. So there's a little spot for coffee here. There is the original Seebeck pizza, awesome pizza, and then a little general store. And then sometimes it's changed hands, a lot of times a little gift store right here. And then on this side is the conference center. All right, coming up, we're going to be turning right, and then we're going to be heading out towards that peninsula. So Seebeck actually goes straight ahead of us and to the left of us as well. It's a fairly big area, but this is like the coastal or the waterfront side of Seebeck. Probably makes the most sense to say it that way. Straight ahead on this road is the post office. There's a gorgeous state park towards. Okay, we're heading up the main road, and we've got about a quarter of a mile to our next turn. This road can be a little dark in the evening. Okay, we're approaching the driveway on the left-hand side here, and this driveway is a gravel driveway. Looks like the one and only address up this driveway, and so far it actually looks like it's in really good shape. And I just mentioned that because sometimes with a shared driveway, it's exactly that, shared. You get to share in, the maintenance, which can be good or bad. When it's your own driveway, the great news is you can, you have complete control over, but also that means that, you have the work or the expense. Seebeck is one of the highest elevations in the county, so if we are going to get some inclement weather, you would have the possibility of some snow here, but we don't get inclement weather every year. So there's a gate here. The owner is the agent, and it sounds like maybe he didn't always use the property. I don't know that it may have been a rental at one point. It's just hard to say. Definitely see a lot of potential. So there's a line of trees on the back here that's creating a barrier. There's actually an agricultural fence, and that's a lot of blackberries growing up against that. Interesting with this structure here, because it's overlapping the roof. Looks like they were trying to create a covered patio area. That might be something that the lender won't want to see, and it's just something we could talk to the agent about. I'd say the property itself is very under improved. Good news is that means it's a blank slate. Bad news is that means that you have a lot of work to do. Definitely see one failed window. I see where probably some paint needs to happen. I might see some rotten siding. We'll take a closer look at that. The roof looks new-ish. It looks like a composite roof and a nice shingle. The flashing looks interesting to me. Again, all of this, a home inspector will be able to tell us what we're really looking at here. Looks like there's air conditioning, like a mini split. This deck looks in decently good shape. Probably could use some pressure washing. Looks like you might have a wood stove out in this big detached garage. I mean, this could be a real benefit for this property, but I would say the property really needs some love. I do love the big circular driveway. Looks like a few more failed window gaskets. So let's get inside and see what we see. Okay, I would say, generally speaking, what I think when I look at this house is I think it was a rental, because it's just not displaying like this great pride of ownership. But that just means it needs to be cleaned and needs some TLC. So this front porch looks in decent shape. It needs some TLC, needs some cleaning or paint. It's a little musty in here, but nothing extraordinary. It's weird lighting. You know, this is typical for a manufactured home. So that's the seam. So it's a double wide. So one side and the other. The windows are all double thermal pane. And as we noticed here, we have a failed gasket, not uncommon. That's a repair, something we could negotiate. This looks like a big giant pellet stove. You know, that would be something we would ask the seller to have serviced. That was probably not the main source of heating, but this is so big it would definitely heat the whole house. So dining zone here. This looks like an LV, like a luxury vinyl. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. Probably the seller installed it themselves, because, you know, I see some of the underlayment exposed. I don't know what's making the noise, but there's a little noise happening here. With manufactured homes, you know, you do have a crawl space under the house. So this is electric. It probably wasn't the original kitchen. And so there's some oddities here, you know, where it feels like a microwave is just put in. Pretty common to have this laundry room, mudroom type space. So deep sink here, probably the panel. Again, appraiser might not love that we don't have the metal thing over the panel. And I do not know what I'm looking at, but you know, a home inspector would need to tell us what we're seeing here as far as the wiring goes. Water heater access panel is on the outside. Laundry hookup. The Coleman furnace, this looks old. I don't know what's going to be behind the screen here. These are pretty affordable to put in, but I'm curious what they did when they put the mini split in. So we'll see that when we get to the other bedroom. Again, I'm seeing things that look like the homeowner probably put in the flooring. It doesn't look like it was done professionally, so there's a little gap here. That could maybe be handled with a transition strip. Pretty common to have this pass-through bathroom. So we're coming off the mudroom from the outside. We can get in and use the bathroom, but you can also get in from the hallway. So I'm actually going to walk around that way. So back through the kitchen. Not a bad sized kitchen. This is laminate. You know, it looks kind of like granite from a distance. I mentioned this attachment. So interesting thing with financing a manufactured home is they don't want anything attached to the unit. This is technically not attached, it's freestanding, but I don't know what an appraiser would think about it overhanging the roof. I don't know why that would be a problem. This actually looks like a really solid structure, and you would probably enjoy having this outside space here. And I had maybe seen some, okay, no, we just have a few little beetles. We've had so much rain, the beetles are probably like, help me. I thought initially that might be a couple of spots of rot, but it isn't that. Looks like they had a satellite dish at one point. Again, I think the roof is newer, but we will leave that up to an actual home inspector to say what we're seeing there. And of course I can't lock the door, so I'm having all kinds of problems here. I don't know if this was a closet at one point, but a little niche of storage. Obviously they hung this, but it requires a plug-in there. Coat closet. Had an alarm. Probably linen closet. So here's that pass-through bathroom. And that was that mudroom area. Close that, you'll see that this is a tub shower combo. Fiberglass insert. The caulking along here isn't good, but again, I'd probably put a piece of quarter round or transition strip of some sort. Skylight possibly has a filled gasket. It could just be that we have a lot of moisture in the air, which is not a lie. There's a lot of moisture in the air today. The vent fan is missing the cover. Yeah, there's a lot of honey-do list things. Okay, bedroom across the hall from the bathroom. This is a small bedroom. I would say the maximum size in here would be a full. A twin would be great, and it's just limited, then what? So if I had a twin, I'd probably run it here underneath the window, and then I'd have a place for a chest of drawers. And then there's a closet here, and it no longer has a closet door. It does have the track though. It smells musty in here, but I'm not smelling anything that smells bad, like cat urine or anything like that. Okay, next bedroom. So this is on the other side of that bathroom. This is not a bad size room, and this has plenty of room for a queen bed. So maximum queen bed, plus room for a dresser here. And then same situation in the closet, no doors. The track is still here, and there are no shelves, but that's all easy stuff. Okay, and then the primary. I see a burnt out outlet. Don't know what that is about. Again, home inspector is going to help us with all these kinds of things. And then in here, I showed you those two failed windows on the outside. So those both look like they have failed gaskets. That's something we could just negotiate in the offer. No closet doors in the primary. To me, this would be the classic spot for the headboard, and this could easily fit a king. That could be a headboard wall as well. There's plenty of room for a dresser there. I don't think that's a burnt out outlet. I actually think that is paint on that outlet. So the flooring in here looks like a vinyl of some sort. And it seems to me they attempted to do an update in this bathroom. Probably the original walk-in shower, fiberglass, single vanity, the commode, and then a big giant jetted tub. And then this of course goes out to the deck. There's no trim around this door. So I would say lots of honeydew projects, and then whatever we can't really see. So let's get outside and see what's happening out there. All right. Didn't actually see the drain field, but it looks like we have something for the septic system right here, and we can look at those drawings. Irrigation water probably. My suspect is this is on a well, and of course it's on septic. The property is really beautiful. The main road is below us, so there's a bit of road noise, but this is not a busy road by any stretch of the imagination. Garage door here looks a little rough, like something bumped into it. You know, I'm just seeing lots of honeydew list things. You've got open space underneath this structure, and we'll take a look at that once we get inside, but I'd certainly want to seal that up a little bit because I think you're inviting uninvited four-legged guests. Oh, Lord. Little deck. Looks like a dryer vent there. So what we got here. All right. Okay. I don't know how that works. Okay. So pergo flooring doesn't look like it's in great shape. Again, lots of cleaning needs to be done. I would suggest whoever was using this space definitely was a mechanic. Looks like greasy fingers. Space is really warm and cozy. So 3/4 bath plus laundry. And then it looks like a newish water heater. Unusual cabinet install. I would say these cabinets may have been in the old kitchen, so they reused cabinets. Looks like a newer toilet. Doesn't look like it's bolted very securely to the bottom there. Yeah, super interesting. I think the appraiser's going to find all kinds of weird stuff. It's unusual to have, you know, an outlet like this. What if something gets poured into it? But it is a cozy space. It feels really warm in here, so this is working well. So remember I showed you the outside. I said it's, you know, a spot for critters. Makes me think this was added on to this garage. You know, I don't know. And then it's quite steep stairs, and they definitely have had mice in here. And if I scream really loud, you'll know why. But I see mouse droppings all over these stairs. So all over up here. And I had mentioned that four-legged creatures might crawl in from outside. The sheathing on this roof doesn't look great. You know, guys, this feels like a much bigger project than I would want you to take on as a sight unseen purchase. We look at a lot of houses for people, and some of them are pretty straightforward, but I just think you honestly have too much happening here. This would be one where if you came and you saw it in person and you said, Ida, we have the skill set to do that. We see lots of potential. Great. But this is not something I think a buyer should purchase without seeing it for themselves. It's just too much like they did it themselves, too much they did it in a way that I don't think is necessarily appropriate. Again, I'm going to scream if, you know, anything jumps out at me. So got a light flashing in here, but I think that's just a bulb going out. I mean, tons of potential. There's that wood stove I mentioned. Certainly lots of daylight. So somebody had a fabulous shop here. My guess is they worked on vehicles or they did art, something. But I just don't know that this makes sense for a sight unseen purchase.